Don't care about no gold, no one else to hit my phone up. None of that pretentious life. No, 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 don't need no pills to get high. There's no doubt in my mind. Your love, it is all that I need.
Yeah. So yeah, so after they finally got everything in the house, and like I said, they kind of threw everything in. They didn't really give a crap about our stuff. They were very dismissive. I personally, I'm not somebody who doesn't like to not tip people who do service, because I think you're gonna work hard, you deserve a tip. If you do a great job, you deserve a tip, regardless of what happened before you. So we were kind of hopeful that things would go great, and unfortunately they didn't. So I chose not to tip them because I was like, you guys destroyed our stuff. You have no answer as to what happened to our missing boxes. When I asked them,
And she's missing too. So even though we asked them to bring all the stuff into the living room, some of the heavier boxes they still just left in the garage because they didn't want to bring them upstairs. So we were still stuck with that. So even the stuff that we asked them to do, they wouldn't do. Like they took apart, I have a road
bicycle.
I have a road bike that they took apart and wrapped.
And they didn't want to put that.
They didn't want to put it together. It was all beaten up anyways. It's clear they didn't take care of it. I mean, it was just crazy. And they're like, oh, we don't want to put it back together. I'm like, well, I didn't take it apart because you guys told me not to, so that you could pack it on the truck. So it was like this.
And that bike came back destroyed.
Horrible customer service. And then so then they were looking for a tip, and we were planning on still tipping them even after our horrible experience. But after we saw them destroying stuff when they brought it in, refusing to even put anything anywhere it goes, refusing to help us set back up our beds and stuff like in the contract it says they're supposed to do, we told them we weren't going to tip them.
And so that escalated. And so we're all like standing in the living room, and I'll put the video in just a second. Actually, no, I'm gonna put it in now. You guys can watch it.
And then we'll talk about it.
And then we'll talk about it. Yes, hi, I'm at 173 Thornberry Lane, and I just moved here. When the movers came, they moved all their stuff in, we paid, signed our contract, and when we wouldn't tip them, they are now in my house refusing to leave. They refuse to leave. Sir? Yes, they're in my entryway right now, refusing to leave.
Yeah, she don't want to pay because she said our stuff is damaged, this and that, so.
Thank you. My name is Nasia.
How are you about?
Nasia. It's Nasia.
No, I didn't say that, but I know all this stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that? No, I'm saying she called a couple cops. Yeah, crying out like
Oh, yes, hi, up here. So now that you've seen that video, basically they refused to leave after we told them we were not going to tip them, and I ended up having to call the police in order to get them out. And they just they actually ended up sticking around for quite a while, and it was about 2 minutes between the time that they finally left our apartment and the police got there. So I think they just missed them in that entire encounter. So
and what you'll see in the video too is like there was a delivery driver, and then there was his assistant. Who you're seeing in the video is just the driver. The assistant and the driver weren't doing anything. They're like, we're not going to leave until we get paid. So I pulled out my phone and started recording, and Nacy got on her phone and called 911. And as soon as that happened, his assistant left. So you don't really see his assistant in the video, so he does kind of leave
Yeah, he said
early.
it wasn't worth it.
Once we, he said this isn't worth it, I'm out. And so he left. But the driver refused to leave and like sat at the window and just would refuse to leave.
Called me obscenities.
Yeah, apparently it was on the phone with his boss. He's like, oh, they still owe us money. We had already paid them. See, here's the thing, the catch, and something you need to learn if you're doing this too. Do not pay them up front. Do not sign up for a company that actually demands you pay them before they unload their car or truck, because we had already paid them. We had already paid them everything before they would unload their car. This is again another part of that extortion we talked about. So we had already paid them. He had already signed that we had paid them in full. So him standing there, it's like, this is crazy. You've already said we've paid you, and now all of a sudden we owe you more money? We're like, no, get out of here.
Yeah, and he just refused to leave, and it wasn't until I called the cops and even a little bit afterwards that he did finally like start to go down our stairs, go outside. And not knowing anybody in the area and this being our like first night, I was petrified. Like I was like, they know where I live. I don't know who these people are. And given our experience up to this point, I was completely untrustworthy of the entire experience. I had no guarantee they weren't going to try and come back and steal something, or I don't know. But thankfully they didn't. We filed a police report. I called the company that night, left a message, and the company has since not reached out to us at all.
Yeah, they won't even communicate with us. We sent them an email. Nacy's called them that night. So one of the funny things was the police officers came, and they were kind of like one of those old grisly movies, because you had like the one more experienced one who kind of like hung out in the back and didn't say anything, and he made his like younger partner come and talk to us about it. So it was kind of funny outtake from the people. And that was actually the first 2 people we met in Albany who actually lived here. So that was a fun experience.
They were nice. The cops were nice. They were understanding. They went ahead and let me file a police report, which I'm going to be honest, I never went and picked up because I don't know where the police department is here. And I've honestly just been so busy with work that
It's just a piece of paper. If
yeah.
we need it, we could go pick it up.
We haven't had to need it. So we called the company, left them a message, never heard back from them. And then that night, as we kind of took a deep breath and looked around, we were like, okay, well, we need to start documenting. So we literally went and took pictures of the outside and inside of every single box, as well as their number, and like went down the list of the piece of paper that they refused to leave with me. They had their own copy of the pictures of the boxes and the numbers for their inventory, and I literally took out my phone and just basically scanned a copy of every single page because they refused to leave it with us.
Yeah, we asked them both on pickup and on delivery for copies, and like, oh no, someone will get that to you later on pickup, and then on delivery it's like, no, I can't let you keep this. But you know, if you want to take a picture with your phone, I can't stop you. So that was really kind of them.
So so we did that, and so we went through everything that night. We were able to, well, at first we thought there were 6 boxes missing, but we were able to find 3 of them. So the long total was 3, and we're definitely missing some stuff. We're missing some books, and we're missing like a blanket, and some of the stuff that we packed like last second. That kind of went into the last few boxes that we packed.
But where they were on top of boxes. I think we actually got some of the stuff, which means that they, like we found out, they opened it and took stuff out of our box, especially the clear ones.
Yeah, we think that, because we ended up with tops to boxes that never arrived.
Yeah, we never got it.
So either the boxes were completely obliterated, which I wouldn't be surprised, given how they handled our stuff, or they just took the boxes. So it could have been one of the two, but we weren't there. I don't know. We're just missing stuff. So.
And why we think some of them were definitely taken out and left on the ground, got wet. Not only the stuff was wet, like Nacy said, but like we had wrapped our mattress in this plastic. It's basically like a big plastic Ziploc bag, and we had sealed it. The thing was like muddy and had dirt all over it. So they just threw our mattress somewhere that was all muddy and dirty. So we know that at some point this stuff was literally just wallowing in mud. And inside some of the boxes, where you could tell where they had taken the tops off and must have repacked, there was mud and stuff inside the boxes too. They had cut the tape that we had put on top of it. It was just very
weird.
Yeah.
Our movies, some of our movies were gone through and were not in their boxes, which is really weird, because if you've ever tried to like take a Blu-ray or a DVD out of its like external shield, sometimes that's really hard to do. But we had several movies that were like outside of their their shield or the boxes were open, which is weird. And we've moved several times with these movies, and that has never happened.
Yeah, for those out there, think about the Star Wars trilogy Blu-ray box. It has that kind of like cup that cups in the book with all the DVDs. That was somewhere else in the box, and this was just laying on top with the DVDs exposed. So somehow it got separated. And
Same thing with the Buffy movies.
Yeah.
The Buffy collection that was like gone through.
TV show, we pretend like the movie doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, so TV show. Our pop vinyls. I don't know. Did we find all of them? Are we still missing?
We're
some?
still missing some, but it's weird because some of them that we're missing were in boxes with stuff that we got. So like, it's clear they must have opened them and picked through and took stuff. It's very, very strange. And people are going to say, well, you should have taped your boxes. We did. We actually taped most of them, and we actually plastic wrapped. If you know that plastic wrap that movers use, we actually did that on most of our boxes too. So they cut through that and the tape to get into the boxes. Very,
Very weird.
very weird. And we were basically in shock. Not only when we started seeing them when they were pulling them out of the truck, but just from the fact of the shape they were in when we got them and when we started to go through them. I mean, we had one box that didn't even have a top on it. It literally had no top anymore. And they didn't even bother pretending like it had a top. They just brought it in. And that's where like a $70 blanket was on the top of it and stuff. It's just like this crazy, crazy thing.
I got this like faux fur blanket in my FabFitFun box. You can see it in the video from in December. That blanket is gone. Gone.
Just vanished.
And it was like, I looked up how much it was to replace, and it was like $70. So, you know, I'm a little upset about that, but whatever, it's just a blanket. Stuff like that can be replaced.
We were really worried because we had thought we lost a couple of things. Like I made her an Ewok a few years ago from Build-A-Bear, and it was before they started stamping the stupid feet with Build-A-Bear and Star Wars stuff.
Which
So it was
apparently
like,
is new.
yeah, which apparently is new. So it was really nice, and I had given it to her because of the trip, and she had gotten me a toothless one with his actual tail being red and stuff, like one fin of his tail being red, and we had thought we lost those, and we were really upset about that, but we luckily found it. Most of the stuff I think they took are more like valuable things, like limited edition Funko Pops. Some of her like nursing books and stuff are gone.
Yeah, my nursing books are
So,
gone.
so they're worth something money-wise, but to us, easily replaced. There's nothing,
Yeah.
nothing that we've found so far that we lost that there wasn't that we could replace. It just really angers us that they actually went through our stuff. And on top of that, just the poor customer service. I mean,
Yeah.
they still haven't communicated with us. We reported them to the Attorney General
In both New York and Florida.
and we reported them to the moving company that's like a national sort of over United States government's overview. This was before the coronavirus, so this was before they were sort of taxed. We reported them to them. We never heard anything back from them. They didn't even care to respond. New York State is the only one who's even responded to us, the Attorney General, and basically they sent the letter that the moving company had sent them. The moving company edited the documents they sent them. They acted like this was a delivery checklist, but they put a piece of paper on the last sheet where Nacy had wrote down all the boxes that were missing and sent it in without that. And then they sent in this old paper that we never even signed, had nothing to do with us. It was like, and they're like, oh, they haven't been communicating with us. We had no idea. We have an email chain during the move of about 10 or 15 emails. They didn't even bother responding. Like, oh, they never responded and told us there was a problem at all. It's just insane. Do not use
Route 66 Movers is
Moving and Storage is their name.
and they also go by Roadrunner as
They,
well. Is
yeah,
what
they,
I've heard.
they are the same company.
Literally,
Yeah, do
because they
not.
even got on the phone a few times and were like Roadrunner, and
Yep.
I'm like that's not the company I use. So they are actually the same company. They are brokered out of Miami, Florida, but they also like come to New York State. But the specific office that I dealt with is brokered out of Miami.
Yeah. We didn't mention them much during the video because we don't want to give them free
Yeah.
props.
Yeah.
But don't use them. That's all we can say. And then they have a company that's supposed to deal with the insurance thing that the delivery guy and stuff talked about. We filed a claim. Absolutely nothing. It's the worst
Yeah.
process ever. We started one in January, and they said that they would start doing it whether we submitted documents or not. They didn't do anything, obviously. We submitted the documents early February. Nothing. We haven't heard anything back from them. It's like, do we want to go to court and waste our time? We're really not sure if we're going to go that route yet.
Yeah.
Can't tell you. Probably not, but we don't know. Just
be very like mindful of who you use, and honestly I think like in the future for any future moves that we do, cross country or even local, I'll probably stick to somebody like very local if I'm moving local, and then if I'm going long term, I honestly am considering pods, and just hire somebody to move the stuff into the pods, have pod company move it, and then have somebody move the stuff out of the pod. So that way I know my stuff stays in the pod, nobody's gonna touch it.
Yeah, but if you guys know of a good mover,
Yeah.
post them below to help people who are going to find this video, because people are going to watch this
Yeah.
because they're frustrated with their movers too. So if you have some great movers, post them below and give us some feedback. What do you think your kind of 3 walkaways? What 3 tips could we give possible movers
Yeah.
that would help them in the future? What do you think 3 valuable tips?
I would say, well, gosh, I didn't really think about this. So, like, number 1, really just make sure you document everything. I think knowing what's going into your boxes and kind of having a system. I know we tried to keep ourselves in a system as far as like kitchen stuff with kitchen stuff and labeling our boxes. Towards the end, we had a label maker, and we tried to make sure we labeled all of our boxes so we knew when we got them what room they needed to go to, and kind of keeping an inventory.
And make sure it's a secondary inventory that you keep with us, because we marked all the boxes and labeled them with the label, all of them. But we didn't have like a secondary piece that told us how many living room boxes. That was kind of our mistake there. So it's a great idea. What else?
And then 2, I would say really do your research about moving companies and stick to credit cards only. Only because if you put it on a credit card, you can at least file a claim against them. And even when we sat down with them initially, because we told them, we were like, look, we don't want to move with you if we can't use a credit card.
Yeah.
And the guy promised us like, no, it's fine, this happens all the time. So that was the first manipulation where we felt really conned into this, because we were promised that it wouldn't be an issue, and once they had our stuff, everything changed. So
We even had him highlight the part in the contract that said we could pay with credit cards. Like, so you sure? And he's like, oh yeah, we can. I was like, all right.
and he called 2 people and supposedly got the okay, which we found out later wasn't, according to the
yeah,
person I talked
who
to,
knows?
wasn't who was supposed to do it. But they had listened to the phone calls, and they could verify that he did make those phone calls. And the reason why they stopped taking credit card was because people were doing chargebacks. Well, no surprise. If you treat my stuff like shit, I'm gonna get a chargeback. So, you know, make sure you protect yourself using your credit card. I think that's the biggest safety net that you can have as a consumer, because at least at that point you can dispute it with somebody else, and your credit card company will go dispute that amongst the other movers. Because I believe we had an issue with budget at one point in time where we had put it on a credit card and we had some issues, and the credit card company handled the back end of those things. Like, we still had to give them documents and talk to them, but they actually were the driving force of that. It wasn't us, so to speak.
Yeah, so we had a problem a very long time ago with the budget truck breaking down on us, and budget was refusing to do it. So all I did was charge it back through Citi. Citi refunds you the money immediately on your card. I mean, it's a credit card, so technically they're not refunding you. They just take it off. And then Citi fought on our behalf, and we ended up only paying like a third of the bill, because that's as much as we used the truck. We probably could have got more, but again, the problem is we're honest people, and that tends to bite us in the butt, because we just try to help people and get through this. So
We
your
take
3
people at
biggest
their
thing.
word.
So your 3 biggest pieces are: make sure you have an inventory for yourself, make sure to do your research on the moving companies, and then use a credit card. And I think my 3 pieces would be sort of following the same thing. My first one is, if they say you can't use a credit card, walk away. Because the reason you can is, like Nacy said with the chargeback things, they're doing horrible jobs and people are charging back their cards. So that's why they don't want you to use it. It's not for any other reason that they're going to come up with. It is literally just the fact that you can charge back on your credit cards, and it holds them somewhat accountable, and they
And
don't
your
like
only
that.
recourse if you pay by cash or even check through your personal bank is to take them to court.
Yep.
That's your only recourse. So
Yep.
if you put it on a credit card, you have other avenues. If
Hey.
you pay by check or cash or even debit, you
And if you pay by cash, you got to make sure you get a receipt too. Like, there's no paper trail there. So make sure we did get receipts and everything. We didn't have that problem. But for those out there who are new, again, I wouldn't even bother it though. Do not go with a company that does not let you charge with a credit card. The second piece is, do not go with a company that makes you pay up front. What I mean with that is that you need to pay at the end of your move. After everything is moved, everything is in your house, everything is where you want it to be, then you pay them. Because otherwise, they're not going to do anything. And they will hold your stuff hostage. If you're supposed to pay some middle payment or something, either they'll increase that, which they did to us, and they'll change the terms of how you can pay, which they did to us, even if it's in your contract. And what are you going to do? You're going to take them to court? Well, that means you're going to have to hire an attorney. That means you're going to have to go to court. That means you're going to have to get a court date, which is at least a month out, if not even longer
Even
for those
longer,
attorneys
yeah.
here. They're going to be like, oh, it's much longer. Well, we know, but we're just saying it'll at least take a month for you to get to court. There's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's your stuff. So you don't want to pay in between payments. You want to pay it all at the end. And then the other biggest thing is, like Nacy says too, make an inventory list of your, for yourself and keep it for yourself. We label boxes. We did a pretty good job of packing it. The biggest problem we have is that we know what was lost, but we're not exactly sure the specific nursing books. We could go back through her receipts and stuff and find them if we wanted to, but we don't imagine this company that they're forcing us to go through to do this arbitration thing is going to do anything, because what we've looked up is basically they're owned by the same people. So they basically created a second company within themselves, called it something else, and that's how you have to go through arbitration. Obviously, they're never going to make their company pay anything, so there's no benefits to that. So we are deciding personally whether we're going to go to court or not. And you know,
In the
who
long
knows?
term,
Who
I'm
knows?
not sure it's worth it because, like Gary said, attorneys, you're looking at least a $3,000 retainer up front.
Yeah.
Time, money, court costs.
Yeah, and they know that. That's why they do what they do. That's why they scam you into paying them cash. That's why they scam you into paying them up front. You know, so three biggest things for me is, again, credit cards are a must. Do not pay up front, and keep your own inventories too. And don't trust the paperwork. Once they have your stuff, they have all of the leverage in the world because they have all of your things.
And it's scary. I will say it's very scary not knowing, especially after everything happened and they had our stuff. It was like we were just holding our breath essentially until it got here. We just wanted it to get here, get in our apartment, and then we would handle the rest, because after they had our stuff, like, we had no recourse. We couldn't get them to bring it back to us. We didn't know where our stuff was exactly. You know, it was very scary.
Yeah. And sort of a side note too that I imagine both of us agree on too, even when they made us sign documents at the end, we documented all the things that were missing. We documented that we just said there were damages. We didn't document everything because honestly it took us 2 days to go through everything and find all the damages. But we documented as best we could on their papers that they made us sign that there were damages and stuff too. So that's sort of
We kept the timeline of everything from the time they picked up to all of our phone calls. You know, so we got really good at keeping track of things and realizing you need to have a written record. But at the end of the day, 90% of our stuff is here. The rest of the stuff is replaceable, so we're just kind of...
Yeah, and we made a good decision. A lot of our photos and stuff we actually just brought with us. So we didn't have a lot of sort of those personal mementos that we couldn't replace. You can always buy another Pop Funko, or you can find even the rare Pop Funkos, or you know, baseball cards or whatever.
Yeah, we
art
took all
stuff.
of our valuables with us.
Yeah, but we took the stuff that we cared about with us, personal, that we couldn't replace, like photos and things like that, and quilts and stuff.
So we lucked out in that sense. But yeah, so we're here now. We're here in New York for the next year, maybe a little bit longer, as I continue to work and do my job and get certified in the career that I'm in. And if you guys want to know more about that, you can always leave me a comment below and maybe I'll do a video about it. I work in organ procurement, so if you're curious about that industry and what's happening in it, just leave me a comment below, and if there's interest, I'll make a video about it and maybe show you a day in my life, or just kind of talk about it, because it is a very important thing, I think, and it doesn't really get a lot of social media attention right now. So if you guys are interested, let me know. But hopefully we'll be doing more videos around here, and if you guys have any ideas of places you want to see in the upstate New York area, or New York City, or Vermont's like a couple hours from us. Pennsylvania is not far, so in that bubble, so to speak, let us know in the comments below, and we'll go check it out as soon as COVID's over.
Yeah, and we're happy to be back. I mean, it's nice to get back to doing this now that we've sort of finished out the move. Nacy's finished out most of her training. She just has a little bit left to do. And so we'll be back.
Yeah, so we will see you guys in more videos to come, and we're hoping to start doing some live streams, so you may see us pop on for live streams, especially now that everybody's kind of stuck at home for the unforeseeable future. And so we'll see you guys either live, we'll see you in another video, and thanks for having us back, and we're happy to be back. So
yeah, make sure you stay humble.
stay humble, guys.